Hi, this is Ruchika from Blue Lotus Designs, earlier known as Caterpillar Designs. Come join me in making this decoupage book box. For someone who loves reading, I love making these book boxes as they are not only useful for storage but are a beautiful home decor piece as well. If you live in US or Canada, you can purchase these book boxes from Michaels. The paper I'm using here is from Bob and Betty, and I purchased this when I was in India. The first step is to take off all the hardware and prepare the box for sanding. As you can see, I'm using an electric screwdriver. If you want to purchase this, I will leave a link below in my bio. Sanding is a very important step for prepping the box to paint. I would advise not to skip this step as the paint goes smoother if the box is sanded well. Next, I have decided to use a stencil for the spine of the box. I tape down the stencil with painter's tape and use texture paste with a spatula. Once done, you can wipe off the excess with your fingers. Once again, for the back I'm using a stencil and texture paste and following the same process as before. Now, for the sides, I want to create a texture so that it looks like pages of an old book. For this, the first thing I do is apply texture paste all over one side, as you can see in the video. Smooth out the paste as much as you can. Then, with the help of an old comb, I run it from the top to bottom and create that effect. If you are not happy with the result, you can run the comb across it once more. Once again, I repeat the same process on all three sides of the box and then leave it to dry properly for at least an hour. After the texture paste has hardened, just give it a light sanding so that the peaks and excess paste get smoothened out. Now the box is ready for paint. Since my papers are more in a brown shade, I will paint the entire box brown acrylic paint. You can use chalk paint if you like. For the pages in the center, I paint white over the brown and then lightly sand it to give it a rustic old page look and feel. If you get white paint on the areas other than the pages, like I have, just repaint them brown so that it gives you a clean finish look. Finally, we can decoupage our paper to the top cover of the box. Don't forget to check the right side of the box before starting. Apply Mod Podge with the help of a brush or sponge and then place your paper on it. Press lightly all around and make sure that there are no bubbles in between the wood and the paper. You can also use a squeegee to do this. Here, I have used a thick decoupage paper and hence I do not need my base to be light for the design to show bright. In case you are using a tissue paper or rice paper, I would suggest you paint the base a light color so that your design shows up nicely. Once the glue has dried, take a 220 grit sandpaper and sand off the paper at the edges. Don't forget to check that the paper has stuck to the base properly all around. Repeat the same process to decoupage at the back of the cover. To cover the white edges of the paper, I am going to use distress ink called Vintage Photo. However, since my brown distress ink has dried up, I will use archival ink instead. It will give the same effect. Archival ink is a permanent ink and mostly used for stamps, whereas distress ink can be reactivated with water if it's not sealed and is mostly used for scrapbooking or making cards. In case you don't have either, you can use a small sponge with brown paint and give this effect by dabbing the sponge at the edges. Just remember not to load your sponge with too much of paint. To seal the paper, we will apply Mod Podge or decoupage glue over the paper. Here I am using a brush to apply the glue and I'm not worried about the brush strokes as I will dab it with a sponge to give it a seamless effect. If you like, you can directly apply the glue with a sponge and eliminate this step. I'm just more comfortable doing it this way. Don't forget to seal the paper at the back of the cover in the same way. I'm not showing it in the video as it is the same process repeated. After this step, I varnish the entire box. I use Minwax polyacrylic varnish in ultra flat. It is a water-based varnish and easy to clean up. You can use a glossy or satin finish if that is your preference. Now, putting a velvet lining inside the box is completely optional, but I like to do it as it gives a very good finish to the box. Firstly, measure the space and cut the velvet piece to size. I am using a self-adhesive velvet lining so it's easier to use. If you want, you can decoupage the space as well or just finish it with paint and varnish. Once done, the only thing left to do now is to put the hardware on the box. And there you are, a stunning book box with a secret storage that you can use to store any stationery, remotes or any trinkets that you want hidden away. Hope you enjoyed making this box with me. Please don't forget to like and subscribe to my channel to see more of these tutorials. If you have any questions, do leave me a message in the comments section and I would love to help you out. Thanks so much.